Hello friends and potential friends. Well, today is Saturday, December 10th, 2022, and I figured I'd bring you around a little bit, see what's going on in the garden. Now, if you saw my video on making bread a week or so ago, and if you made it to the end of that video, while I was putting together that first turkey sandwich, I had to run outside for some special ingredients. And these are the ingredients that I was coming out for. This is where I'm getting my salads right now. I've got plenty of lettuce growing good out here. Nasturtiums are going real good. Over in the second tower, my garden peach tomatoes are doing good. In fact, let me see if I can spot some of them. Yep, there's a few little ones there. Number of blossoms all over them. Lizards here and there, garden them. Hopefully they'll take care of some of the pests, because I've been having a lot of pest pressure this fall so far. And I don't see any more tomatoes on that one right offhand. But here's a better look at the salad tower. Now, if you look closely, there's a bunch of empty spots in here, because early on, something was eating a lot of my lettuce. Now, I kept looking and looking, and I never could spot what it was, but it got roughly half of the lettuce when it was first coming up. That lasted for about 2 weeks, and then the pest pressure backed off and the rest of this took off. So I've got quite a few salads out of this already, and I'll be getting a few more before things are done. Let's head around the back and see what's going on out there. Well, the patio hasn't changed a lot. Still got that one pot of comfrey I need to do something with. Couple of avocados that are ready to go in the ground. Ginger's still growing. Been unusually warm this year so far. But turmeric, it doesn't seem to care how warm it is. Most of that has died back, and I could probably do a harvest in there whenever I feel like it. The rest of the experimental garden looks about the same, except that I don't see those potato plants that I saw a couple weeks ago. May have to go ahead and dig those pretty soon, see if there's anything under there. Some more comfrey, rosemary. Still have 5 pineapples here on the patio. And then another salad tower, which, to be honest, is kind of struggling. I mean, there's a lot of green up here. This is a gourmet lettuce mix. But my Swiss chard is not doing well at all this year, and I'm not really sure why. There are a lot of variables that could go into that, but it doesn't look like I'm going to have much Swiss chard this year. That's okay. I like my salads too. Strawberry tower hasn't been putting out any rudders recently, but I do still have 3 or 4 plants growing in there. And I'll have to decide what I'm going to do about that at some point. But it's not at the top of my list. Plenty of aloe still. The elderberry looks about the same as it always does. Now, sweet potatoes. These are the ones planted from slips. And in about 10 days, I'll be marking the 120-day life cycle. So I should be digging those up in the next week and a half and see what's going on in there. The big pineapples look about the same as usual. I come and look at them every day, and so far I haven't seen any fruit starting. But I've got plenty of fruits in other places. For example, these Roma tomatoes. That's just one cluster. There is a lot of trouble from pests. There's one that's been eaten on. And there's one that just fell off my hand. And I've been fighting a little bit of the blight, trying to pick off the affected leaves whenever possible. But they continue to blossom and continue to grow fruit. And there are a lot of tomatoes in there. But again, it's kind of a mixed bag this year. However, it looks like I might have a couple of them turning. And it's probably about time, because even though we've been unusually warm, our weather guessers are saying that we're going to have a front next weekend. And next Friday, our highs are supposed to be in the 60s and our lows in the 40s, even approaching lower 40s. That'll be the first time we did that this year, which, according to the weather station that I tend to watch, is about a month to a month and a half late. We should have been into the 40s at least once in November, and we never made it down there. Garden peach tomatoes, we got a bunch of tomatoes in here as well, and I'm just hoping that they will start to do something before their predicted cold weather gets here, because I would like to get some tomatoes out of these. Let's walk back over here. Got some more tomatoes over here, along with some comfrey. These are the yellow pears, and they're not growing real fast, mainly because they don't get a whole lot of sunlight this time of year. The sun's pretty low in the sky, and there's some trees over there that are blocking it out until late afternoon. And then once in a while we have a day like today where it's overcast completely. Haven't seen the sun yet today, and I'm not sure if we're going to see it. But that has kept the temperature down to about 70 and kept the humidity up in the 80 to 85 range. Now here we've got some slow bolt cilantro. It's coming up pretty good. Starting to form its major leaves. I've been worrying about that too, because we've been in the 80s just about every day for the last month, and I was worried that was going to bolt as soon as it came up. Next to that, I've got 5 elephant garlics. They're all up good. And then a few days ago, I planted some radishes in here, and they're just starting to pop their heads out of the soil. I can't, yep, let me zoom in on one of them just for grins. There's one. That's going to be a radish in a couple of weeks. Next to the radishes, I've got a couple of rows of Black Beauty eggplant. They didn't grow well for me in the spring, so I figured I'd try it in the fall. And next to those, I believe this is broccoli. Yes, Waltham broccoli. 2 rows of them, and then some more comfrey. Never have too much comfrey. Let's see. Okra. I've been threatening to pull this stuff up for the last 2-3 weeks, but here lately they've started producing again, and I've got okra pods all over the place in here. I've picked a couple dozen of them in the last week, and there's still more on the plants now. So I'll let them keep growing. I do have some jalapeno pepper seedlings I could put in this bed, but the okra seems to want to keep using it, so we'll let that happen. Now over here, this is kind of a disappointment to me. At this end of the bed, I had Swiss chard and curly kale, the Yates Blue Scott curled kale, and something's been eating just about all of it. I mean, you can see these Swiss chard, they're looking pitiful. Kale's looking pretty pitiful too. Had a volunteer tomato come up with one of the kales, so the bugs are eating that too. And I've been looking and looking. It's got to be some kind of worm, but I haven't been able to spot them yet. So I'm just hoping that something comes out of that. If not, I mean, they'll probably grow back. but right now they're looking pretty pitiful. And if they don't grow back, I'll just have to plant something else in there. I do have another planting of lettuce over there on the far side, and it's getting to the point where I can get some salads out of that. The one on this side, not doing much at all. And next we have some, what's this, the red Russian kale. A couple rows of that. It had a little bit of pest pressure when they were smaller, but now they seem to have outgrown it for the most part, and I should be getting some leaves out of them before long. And then finally my cabbage collards. It's old reliable, but again they had some pest pressure early on, and they've just grown beyond it. And I'll be getting some salads out of here before long. Now, one I'm particularly happy with is this bed over here. Let's see, down here at this end we've got the Floridad tomatoes, and they are promising to give me a bunch of tomatoes. I mean, right there I can count, at least 8, maybe 10. More over here, and more over here, and that one big one looks like it just might be about ready to start turning. Hopefully it'll get ripened up before our predicted cold weather gets here. But these things are growing good, and there's a worm. Yep, that's one of the worms I've been dealing with. So we'll add him to the eliminated pile. But frankly, these things are growing so good that the worms are hardly even affecting them, except when they start biting into the tomatoes. Got Boxcar Willie over here, and I don't see any tomatoes right offhand, but I'm pretty sure there's some in there. I do see a lot of blossoms. Next to the Boxcar Willies are the Amanas, and there are some blossoms on those as well. And it looks like there might be another worm over there on the other side. I'll have to make a note of that and come back when I'm finished with this video and take care of that guy. And then at the end we've got the beefsteaks that I came from the grocery store in 2017, and I just planted these seeds on a whim just to see what would happen. Most of them germinated. And I've got some rather interesting looking tomatoes in here. That particular one looks like it's a combination of about 4 tomatoes all growing together as a single fruit. Talk about cat facing. That one's going to be cat faced all over the place. And things are looking just about as good on this side. Now we'll spin around and look at another greens bed. At this end I've got snowball cauliflower. Next to them I planted some Brussels sprouts. Now I've never had any luck with Brussels sprouts, so this is a good attempt at me to see what happens in the winter time. And then next to those is some Mishahili Asian kale, or excuse me, Asian cabbage, and they're growing good. I'll be picking leaves off of them before long, but I'm going to try to leave them alone a little bit, see if they'll develop some head. And then at this end I've got red acre cabbage and golden acre cabbage. And all of those, they're growing. I mean, everything grows a bit slower this time of year, but they do tend to grow, and thankfully, so far, none of these brassicas have been bolting on me, and I hope that will continue. Speaking of continuing, did get a little bit of soil into the patient's bed, but I need to get a little bit more to finish it off. And I've also got some asparagus seeds in the lab that I'm looking to germinate soon. Well, they're in yogurt cups, they just haven't come up yet. But meanwhile, I keep getting asparagus spears. There's one there. Here, I'll zoom in on that one. Oh, if I can. There it is. That's actually a pretty good size one. It's only about 6 inches tall, but it's bigger and round than a pencil, so that one's doing pretty good. There are a few smaller ones back in the back corner there, and I thought I saw one or two out here in the front as well, but right at the moment I'm not spotting them. But they are doing pretty good. Let's see, the mini orchard. The mini orchard doesn't change much. I see my ponderosa lemon out there. The moringa's still got leaves. There's a pomegranate down at the far end. And my gardening buddy Snowflake, she's just chilling right now. And it looks like she's guarding my mulberry. Papayas are still growing, not a lot of fruit on them right now. Avocado over there is doing good. Gardenia's doing good. And in fact, let me pause this for a second. I'm going to walk back there. I got to check on something. And that's what I thought. Here's my original ponderosa lemon. Very seldom sees sunlight. But this year it's got 2 fruits on it. That one's about the size of a tennis ball. And this one over here is about the size of a small, maybe a softball. Still got a little bit of green on it, but that one will be ready to come off before too long. And here we are, a third of the way through December, and everything's still growing. Like I keep saying, we do things just a little bit different down here than many of our friends. I know right now, for example, most of the country is frozen, dealing with snow and ice. But we've got a high pressure area out in the Gulf of Mexico that's keeping all of that stuff from coming down our way. But I've just come to the point where when I have some seeds, I plant them. Doesn't matter what time of year it is. I'll get them in the ground and see what happens. And so far, it looks like it's happening. We'll see what next week brings. Until then, I'll see you next time.